Hello, and welcome to Crossing Bridges Talk Show. I'm your host, Larry Montgomery Sr. This is my co-host, William. Introduce yourself.
Good evening, everyone. I'm William Montgomery. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay. This week, well, let me let you make your announcement first, so we'll get that out the way.
Okay. Well, to our viewers, we appreciate you coming to our show. We also like to extend an invitation if you want to recommend a type of topic for us to speak about. Please, drop a line in the comment section or on the chat line, and we'll see if we can work it into the rotation.
Okay. And if you'd like to join the conversation, in the comment line, give us your email address, and we'll send you the link. Make it easy. Okay. So this week we wanted to just kind of talk a little bit about Nigeria. Okay. You had done some research on that?
Just a little bit,
Well, to introduce the topic, the other week there was a disturbing article in many newspapers about a mass kidnapping in Nigeria of some school-age girls. And I was disturbed when I heard that. But I understand that since then they've been released. But in the interim, you did do some research. So why don't you tell us what you found out?
Well, unfortunately, this kidnapping stuff is pretty prevalent in, I'm not going to just say Nigeria, but is probably a few other countries on the continent of Africa. But yeah, it's a sad event. And the specific event, it seems like there's Catholic children that's in school that get kidnapped, and they're used to get money out their government, either money or vehicles or, things of worth value to them. And so it continues. And, the people are not too happy about it because, you, in a sense, incentivizing these criminals by giving them exactly what they want. Yes, it's important to get the kids back, but the people that are doing the kidnapping are probably not being dealt with effectively, or the numbers are growing of those that's incentivized by doing these kidnappings.
Well, you said something that rang a bell there, being dealt with effectively. I believe that's how you put it.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because whether you're in the U.S. or you're in Nigeria, there's a lot of people.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people wherever you go. And for people to get the word or the understanding that something is unacceptable, I think it's rare that everyone would understand that this or that particular situation is unacceptable, or this or that act is unacceptable. There's always someone in the crowd who's going to say, "Oh, that's okay. Let's do that."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's usually the kind of person who believes that it's never going to happen to them, never going to visit their household or their family or their neighborhood. It's just all about them, And we're talking about Nigeria, but also in Mexico, had the same problem. And they are trying to effectively deal with it because once the word gets out that you have that kind of a problem in your country, I mean, yeah, there's kidnappings, all the time, everywhere, for some reason or another. But once you get labeled as a territory, region, whatever country that has a problem with that, an inordinate number of occurrences, then people get a particular impression and they think twice about, visiting you, investing in your country, or whatever. And it usually takes an inordinate amount of time for that impression to go away. Okay. We were talking earlier, you might have, let's just say, a school building You got 1,000 kids in the school building, and 5 of them get the flu. Is it an outbreak? No. But if 6 get it, maybe it is.
Hmm.
You know, depending on which kids get it. The more popular children get it, then everybody knows about it. We got an outbreak. It was only 6, but and we talk about kidnapping, and in Mexico, the way it was broached, I guess, is that these corporate executives that would come in to do whatever work the corporation sent them down there for were prime candidates to be kidnapped and held hostage for a ransom. First off, they already knew that the person who was kidnapped may have money themselves, but more than likely their corporation is going to pay. And obviously they pay in a reasonable amount of time for it to make sense, because no one's going to kidnap you and keep you for a year.
Nope.
Okay. I mean, if it's in war, then they might do that because they can, we're going to be at war for a while. But when you put children in that mix, you got parents who are very concerned. Child that would be clearly traumatized. I mean, even as an adult, I'd be traumatized if I was kidnapped. Say, how stupid am I to allow you to kidnap me? But a child, they don't know squat, and you kidnap them, and then there's the likelihood of them doing whatever they're going to do, have their way, because they are children and they can't really defend themselves. Not saying that they really can't, but they probably don't know what to do. They're in panic mode. But anyway, the point is, the word gets out that in your country you have a problem with managing that particular issue, and so it'll take years for it to go away, assuming that you actually figure out how to handle it. My thought is, listen, you kidnap somebody and you want to get paid. Eventually, you're going to have to figure out how you're going to get paid. As soon as you figure that out, I'm going to figure out how to get a hold of you. Okay. And now you're subject to immediate execution, wherever you are. I ain't talking about having court. You don't need no lawyer. You did it. You came for the money. You didn't just arbitrarily come here for this money. So you must have did it. Oh, you was a messenger. Tough business, man. You got paid up front because you ain't making it out of here. So then the issue gets dealt with, and then at some point in time in the future, people figure out that you figured it out, you dealt with it, and then things go back to kind of normal. But the damage that's done, could be very problematic. So anyway,
can I say something? Because like as you brought up in Mexico, it was happening. It may still be happening. I don't know, but the thing that brought it to mainstream was because they kidnapped somebody from the United States. So you got to think, if that didn't happen, if it wasn't an American that got kidnapped, what I'm saying? When people are kidnapped within their own country, it's less likely to be publicized for the word to get out. So I think that's one of the reasons why it's so prominent and keeps going on and on and on, because if it's not being, if the powers that be are not being engaged to do something, to prevent it, like, oh, this just happens, this another Tuesday or another Saturday, that might be how they dealing with it, and it just continues. But if it's another country's involved and they start putting pressure, financial or whatever, now they get to hopping and popping to try to figure out how to stop this thing that's been going on for decades and stuff like that. So
yeah, well, when you bring in other foreigners, from other countries, it complicates things because you already have your posture Mexico has its own, just own government, whatever, and they have their own posture as to how they handle things. So if a Mexican comes to America and commits a crime, now who's going to punish him? Do we in America expect the Mexican government to punish him the way that we feel comfortable with? That's a battle at the government level, because in Mexico they may just shoot you and get it over with. Why take you to court? You did it. That's it. Here, you got to get a lawyer and you got to go to court and and whatever. You could be mentally ill and get off. You could blame somebody else and cut a deal, and all kinds of things could happen because you're an American.
Mm-hmm.
In America.
Yeah.
But if you was a Mexican who came to America, might not necessarily go that way. By the same token, if we were over there and did it. So yeah, it's a bigger problem for you if it's someone who's not from your own country. People try to let you deal with your own people, however you do. But my people is a different story. You can't come here and tell us how to run our businesses, and we're not going to go there and, well, we do go there and tell you how to run yours. But that's we'll gloss over that part. But okay, now when we talk about again executives, they can get their insurance company to cut a check, and they're not going to give them a check, but you got to come up with cash.
Mm-hmm.
And then these guys who have kidnapped you, they get the big payday and they go back up in the mountains, and maybe they let you go, maybe they don't.
Mm-hmm.
If they let you go, they got a pretty good chance of, not getting killed because, we did let them go.
Mm-hmm.
You want us to give them back the money, we could do that too.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not necessarily always the case. But once you kill them, now you got a problem, because they're going to keep looking for you. If your own government is not looking for them, the other government is going to be looking for them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be a problem. So why add to the headache? Okay, so we talked about that.
Okay.
On the list.
I don't know what's on the list.
I don't know. we were talking about the N-word last week.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Part 2.
Yeah. That's kind of a challenge, and there were a couple of things that probably could be said, but I don't want to really go back over everything, and to bring people up to speed. But there were 2 points that we clearly made, maybe 3. One, that the word itself, its genesis, is questionable, meaning that just because you heard the word or the word is available, it was available for a reason. Okay, to denigrate Black people, Africans who are slaves in America. And really, it just extended to any kind of Black person in America, because this idea that white supremacy is white is right, which is plain foolishness. And, again, I've said this before and I'll say it again, I don't know anything ever under the sun that white people were better at than Black people, other than committing crimes and doing foolish things. They're good at that, And, they just are, because white folks will do anything. You sit there and you watch them long enough, they'll do anything.
Mm.
And the ones who want to hang out with them, they're just as stupid as they are, because eventually they're going to get you to do anything, because you want to prove yourself that you are, you with them. We cool, we cool. We see things that, so you're going to do something just as dumb or dumber to prove that you're with them. I don't have any white friends. I know some white people, but I don't have any white friends, because you can't trust them as far as you get them.
Mm.
That's the truth. And they'll say that about us. Can't trust them as far as you get them, because you probably can't, but It is what it is. People are motivated by what motivates them.
True.
The list is short because that same list is used to identify why people murder and kill people. That short list: money, sex, power. What else? Race. That's it. I'm for. Religion.
Yeah.
It's just plain foolish because I don't know any valid religion that is going to preach that you kill people because they don't believe in what you believe in. That's like a cult. That's not a religion.
Okay.
But I'm not here to debate that issue. And I don't want nobody out there to bring it to me.
Yep.
I actually find out what I think. It won't be good. Okay. Anyway, we try to be reasonable, and polite, that kind of a thing. But some stuff has not worked, and it ain't gonna work, and that's white supremacy. Don't work, and it ain't gonna work. Now we all can get along, which is fine. I don't have to live in your neighborhood to be happy.
Yeah.
And I don't think you're going to be happy living in my neighborhood. So what's the problem? There's plenty enough space out here for everybody to have more than enough, but, this ignorance. But anyway, so we were talking about that. So there were a couple other comments I wanted to, to share with you that might be of interest. Let's see here. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I kind of forgot the other 2 points I was making. It was about the foolishness of white supremacy. The other one was the fact that the N-word, can be used in two different contexts. One as a derogatory context, and one in a let's just say a loving context. And I think you had identified that clearly. It's ER at the end when it's derogatory, and A at the end when it's in love. We talked about the fact that some people shouldn't use either word.
Yep.
I don't care how far back in time we go. I don't know how much you love me and how good a friend I've been to you. Using that word is going to be a problem for you. Because nobody's going to slap me about it. They're going to slap you. Okay? So let's just put that on the table and get that clear. First off, Black folks shouldn't be using it anyway, because we know where it came from and why it's there. And yeah, I understand the thinking that if it's something that's really, really bad, try to look at it in a positive light, and don't go there to the bad side type of thing. And sometimes that works to make you feel comfortable. But the truth is the truth. And there was something I got this morning that where did I put that? Hold on a second. Let me see if I can pull that up. I don't even know if I could put it on the screen. But hold on. Let me see if I can find that sucker. It was on Facebook. Somebody got it from somebody else. And can I do a search here? Let's see. Hold on. That's not going. Anyway, let me see if I can just kind of explain it. Basically, because I'll mess it up if I try to explain it. That's not going to be good. You had the picture that came with it was fine, but the actual statement that was written was profound. And I was on the other computer. It's on the other computer. Ah, man.
Mm.
Anyway, I will find it, and next week, it's just, takes a minute or whatever to go over. So we were talking about the N word. All right, here we go.
Mhm.
Let's see where we at. Whoops. Oops. Yeah, we know about the N word. You had something you want to say?
I mean, as we said before, it's just when you got some people that believe that, okay, well, I'm gonna take that negative and make it a positive. But really and truly, even as a young person that has used the word and you know, guilty as charged, um, just think about it like this: you have your ancestors around you, of a different generation. Here, you use that word. Can you just imagine the cringe, the anger, the hurtness that they might feel? I mean, if you're not willing to think about how hurtful that word was to them, you'll never understand how disrespectful it is. And using that word, you might continue to do it. As opposed to saying, you know what, I know my great grandparents wouldn't, would be hurt if they heard me say that word, because when they heard that word, it was probably somebody out saying it that really thought less than a piece of bubble gum that was stuck to the bottom of their shoe about it. I mean, and sometimes you gotta have a good imagination to think about how it was to be in a situation where like that was somebody's reality. You know
Mm-hmm.
that these words were not, hey, what's up? My man, my friend, my buddy, my pal.
Mm-hmm.
And for us to think that we could take it and flip it and nah, it ain't that, it ain't that serious. But guess what? It was that serious.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? You don't want to take it that serious now, but if I mean, like when reality sets in, it's all fun and games until reality sets in and you really start thinking about what your ancestors went through. You probably be disappointed in your own self for using it. Just
Yeah.
saying. Like I said, I'm sitting here thinking about it as I'm saying it, and I'm like, dang, I feel that, because I've used it, and I'm like, I'm like I said, I'm guilty as anybody else that said it, so I own that.
One of the things I wanted to say that is probably timely, because we just came out this big election thing here. And this is what the author writes here: a barrage of disparaging uses of the word bloodied me as I combed through the narratives. And he was doing this research. Hold on, let me get back up here. The Ku Klux Klan kept the niggers scared. The Ku Klux did a whole lot to keep the niggers away from the polls. Slaves owned by nice masters are repeatedly called free niggers. Niggers ain't got no sense. Put them in authority and they gets so uppity. I see just a poor old nigger waiting for Jesus to come and take him to heaven. Slave traders are called nigger traders. Defiant, enslaved people required the service of a nigger breaker. Nigger dogs aided the recapture of those who escaped. Perhaps, perhaps more depressing, ironically, was that circumstances sometimes led them to opt against calling a black person a nigger. William Porter stated that some of the Tennessee niggers was called free niggers. There was a colored man in Pulaski, Tennessee, who owned slaves, a black man who kept others in bondage. He's a colored man, yet those who were owned were niggers. This is the author speaking, I instantly thought of a moment from the OJ Made in America documentary when a white woman who saw black people talking to Simpson uttered, look at those niggers sitting with OJ. Simpson delights in hearing this because she knew I wasn't black. She saw me as OJ. Porter's outlook matched that of both the racist white woman and the unspeakably racially deranged OJ. Now, that whole OJ thing was, historical.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, first off, my personal opinion was, OJ, he could play football. That wasn't a problem. He was pretty good. But back then, in those days, rich black man with the first thing you want to do is marry a white girl. I didn't think that made a lot of sense. There are a lot of fly sisters out there, first off, and a lot of them had money. But you chose, but okay, so now you got her. The other thing was the crime itself. A black man with a knife, that's not a crime that black men commit. And one that was as violent as that. I can see you stuck him once or twice, type of a thing. Okay, that happens. We almost took a head off and then turned on the young man. That, I don't see, that's not a one-person job. And I don't see a black man doing that and still being able to smile and laugh in people's face. That's the kind of thing that you carry around with a scowl on your face on a regular, because you're just that full of evil that you would do something like that to a person. For what reason? I mean, OJ, what? Because she may have been running around on him or something. That's not a reason to kill her. Might be a reason to beat up the guy that she's running around with, but I don't see OJ thinking that way, And the other guy was Ron Glassman, Perlman, or whatever it was, I just didn't see. So anyway, the point, when we have black folks out there who don't have a problem with white folks, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with either. I just don't trust them. But if you feel comfortable with folks that will enslave you and your children and your mama and all your relatives, make you work, take the benefits of what you did, and then abuse you, then if you think that those people are going to be friends to you, then you go right ahead. Do you. I'm not saying all people are the same. I'm just saying that the likelihood is there, and I don't see none of them denying it on the regular. So just keep arm's distance and it be what it is. I'm watching you. And you better
verify. So trust but verify, or avoid. I mean, it's hard to trust anybody these days. But if you take race out the question, I mean, a person's character. Some people are very fraudulent.
A person's character will stand out no matter what color they are,
mm-hmm.
And you can be comfortable with that. But you got to see the character. If I don't see it, you just because you sat there with your mouth closed. I don't know which side of the fence you on.
Yeah.
I really don't. Excuse me. So it's easier just to go to the default and just assume, well, you with them.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go like that. And so back to OJ, that whole thing there was just a hot mess, period. And then there was the civil suits, and you still see black people who are athletes or entertainers or whatever, rich, who find that their soulmate happened to be white. Okay, might want to check where your soul is at, but you know, I'll go with you. At the end of the day, if race is important to them, it's going to be important to them.
Mhm.
That's it. Yeah. So anyway, what's next?
Finances. Oh, sorry. What you talking about? We got time, so we talk about finances. Talk about the books. You know.
I actually wrote a book. I was going to say that earlier. It's entitled, let me see if I see it over here. There it is.
Blackout.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
It's about Mexico
Okay.
and executives being kidnapped.
Okay. Right on time.
And so it's interesting because also it has a political hook in there. And the political hook, I think what makes it kind of unique, at least for me, was that there's politics on both sides of the border.
Yep. That's true.
And then in reality, sometimes they intermingle.
Mm-hmm.
We only hear the American side of it. We don't think about the Mexican side of that political situation, and so that comes to light too. And so that's why it makes it was worth writing, to talk about that, because again, and we had talked about kidnapping earlier with Nigerians and Mexicans or whatever, and the different sides of the fence, whether they're executives or children or whatever, but then there's the politics behind it, and that's key to making it go away in the public's eye, because if the press isn't talking about it, you don't know about it.
Yep.
It happens 24/7, but if the press ain't talking about it, you don't know about it unless it happens directly to you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this one includes the press, it includes politics, it includes wealthy executive, and so yeah.
You know what? To be honest, I mean, like what you were saying, like it's politics on both sides of the border, but being an American, well, one, my Spanish ain't that good, so even if I was watching, a Hispanic news station, I probably wouldn't be able to understand it. But I'll say that I'm guilty of not even thinking about that politics or their politicians being involved in the matter, because like she was like, well, us in America, we're doing this, that, the other, and honestly, I mean, I'm not saying that this is like should be the case, but it's like we don't care about what's the other governments is doing, even though really and truly we kind of should, because if we, I mean, not on a daily basis, but like if we endeavor to travel over there, we kind of need to know, what I'm saying, because it might not be politically safe to go to. I mean, it might be safe to go to a place, but it might not be politically safe, in that aspect. So it's like something to think about.
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons why Americans are so cocky and arrogant is because we only know what we know.
Mm-hmm. True.
You keep telling me that I know everything, then I know everything. I only know what I heard over here. Now, I've said this before. I didn't know there were Black Jews until somebody actually moved the camera too far to one side.
Yep.
I was looking at some kind of a holiday or whatever in Israel, and all you see was the black hats and the beards or whatever, and they're at the Wailing Wall and that kind of a thing. And then the camera moved. There's no black people over there. So what? And so you start to think about this. How does this actually work? We have been just plain brainwashed. I mean,
Yep.
but we don't talk about that, and we think that we're getting the full story. But when you really look at it, we're only getting the story that they gave us.
Hmm.
You know,
Every day.
right? You can't say that. We talk about religion. You know, um, while back to the kidnapping thing in Nigeria, while there's this belief, I guess, that the Catholics, if you kidnap them, the government will pay the ransom. Why is that? Why does that make sense? And until you find out, I guess from somebody there to tell you, well, this is the problem between the Catholics and the Muslims and the whatever else, religions they got going on there, then you can understand the story why they think that just makes sense. Committing a crime doesn't make sense personally. And I don't care what country or what religion you're in. But, obviously they have a reason for it because it's gotten out of hand.
Mhm.
It wasn't like a one-time occurrence. This is something that's happening on the regular. And so even here in the U.S., we talk about, racism. We've leaped over Catholicism, which justified slavery
Mm.
as it was reported.
Mm.
And then if you go back into the archives of the Catholic Church, you start to find out the real truth, that Catholicism got some issues.
Mm.
One of them, we all know about that they don't talk much about, but we know is every day, these
Mhm.
pedophiles,
Yep.
And pedophilia is not something that you're born to be. You learn that. It's a learned behavior.
Mm.
Okay. So you got a bunch of them up in the church. That happened.
And they protecting them. That's I mean, you can't prevent people from joining a certain thing, but when you find out about it, you need to deal with that like
Mhm.
expeditiously. I ain't saying you got to kill them, but they need to be marked and thrown out the church, because you're sending these people to other locations to preach the word of God and terrorize more kids. It's like you're rewarding them.
But
You know what I'm saying?
it leaves the question of, if you're, I guess, bishop or archbishop or whatever, one of the head guys over there, and you find out that you're getting complaints about this one particular father, whatever you call him, I guess. I'm not trying to be derogatory. I don't know.
Yeah.
And so instead of putting him out to church and maybe getting him some help, you put him in another church, another parish.
Hmm.
They use.
Yeah.
Why? Is it because you believe that God would think that that would be the way to handle it? Or is it that you got some issues too?
Yeah.
That somebody passed over you on, so you pass over on the next one? Because there's no reason for that many other than the fact that it's okay to be up in that church, and this pandemic has hurt them, that church a lot, along with that other issue, because hey, we could talk about the Catholic Church from here until doomsday.
Mm.
But back to religion being an issue, um, until we really get a chance to understand the different major religions and the regions that we are talking about where we see these issues, and we're talking about Nigeria right now, and putting Mexico on that list too, you really don't know what is the driving force behind some of these actions. We know that here in America, we got a problem with white supremacy, which is like, where'd that come from? I mean, really, where's it come from? But if you look at, and we talked about this, we could talk about it again at some point, when Mary and Joseph took Jesus to hide him from Herod, they took him to Egypt, You can't hide a white baby amongst black people. Period.
Yep.
You can't have white parents with a black baby and hide it.
Mhm.
So what are you telling me? Okay. Now I had to figure that out because the Bible would not let you hide it from me. You can't. Listen, if you're going to lie, you better just go on and tell a lie.
Mhm.
I'll try to give a half truth here and a half truth there and knit them together like it's, oh, this is really the truth. You just didn't understand it.
Mhm.
But we can talk about that at some other point.
Skin of bronze, hair of wool. The facts are the facts. So
It's in
mhm.
Revelations,
Mhm.
feet of bronze. I ain't seen no white guy with no, even if he had a tan. Nah, it wasn't just the feet, baby.
He painted them. He painted them.
It was the hands and the face, you know.
Mhm.
But okay.
Mhm.
So yeah. Now, what are we going to talk about next week?
Well, might have a couple of different things that we touch on, kind of like we did this week. I mean, who knows? Like some of the viewers might have sent some comments.
Okay.
You might have to elaborate on some of these topics that we addressed today. And,
Okay.
the N word and the Catholic Church, probably. Somebody might have a question about that. Who knows?
No, we'll
It's
see.
open book.
Okay, we'll see. And it's 41 minutes into. It's a good time to say goodnight.
Good night. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
As long as the creek don't rise, we'll be here next week.
That's right.
Bless you.
God bless.